Whoa, here we go again, everyone. This is exciting. This What Makes You an Octopus series continues with Terri Wilson today. And this was an unexpected surprise, but Terri had completed her book the same week. I reached out to people in the Octopus Movement saying, what makes you an octopus? Why do you exist in this crazy little pocket we have of fun? And Terri was there, and all of a sudden she said, wait, my book is out, and it was just like a day or two ago. So I'm excited to share that with you, but also just to share that Terri's a fellow Octopus Movement member, and we're just going to get to know her and why she's one of the group. So welcome, Terri Wilson. Thanks for joining us, Terri. How are you today?
Oh, you know what? It's been a great day today. I've had my people around me, and I've been in Zoom meetings and whatnot, and it's just been, it's been a good day. How are you?
I'm awesome. You had a book sold. That's so fun, right? Things are moving forward. That's so great. That's so great. So aside from an author and being a part of the Octopus Movement, Terri, who are you? Tell us a little bit about just who you are. You know, what are you passionate about? What do you love?
Well, I've lived a fairly reclusive life, and people. And I think that is probably a big part that makes me an octopus, because I go against the norms. If people say, "Oh, you're supposed to do this, you shouldn't do that," I kind of tend to test the theories and do the opposite and kind of see how things are myself and feel things out for myself. And I make my own rules. And I've just always done that. So I think being a recluse and, not talking to people and, making up my own rules and doing my own thing just kind of probably puts me in that category.
Right. Does that get you into trouble? I like to make my own rules, and I often get in trouble.
I'm always right. Who's going to get me in trouble for what? What would I be in trouble for?
Well, it's not real trouble. It's the linear world of they've created rules and they don't like it. Like if you're at a restaurant and you sit down and you don't have silverware, I'm the guy that will just get up and go get some. I don't care where it is. I've worked in restaurants. I know it's not the land of make-believe on the other side of the wall. And I'm very kind of practical about things. And some people are like, you can't do that, or you can't just go in the back of a grocery store and look for something. Well, I do. And sometimes people get, hey, you can't be here. And I just play dumb and go, oh, okay.
I don't think I do that, but I am a firm believer in more of the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. I think that we've really, really, really gotten off track with the letter of the law. It says right here, do you even understand why that was written in the first place? It dumbfounds me. I don't understand people. I just don't. And I'm okay with not understanding most people because, my inside world is a good place to be.
That's really a good thing to know. I think a lot of people don't really know where comfort is or home is, like in this big world of swimming ideas and options we have. One thing you said that I like the word recluse. What is that for you? Like everybody's idea of withdrawing from society is different, especially nowadays. What does that mean to you?
It really
practically
means not really interacting with a lot of people, I guess. Like I said, I don't understand them because I haven't been around a lot of people, like concerts and going to the bars and, doing a lot of that stuff. I mean, I have, but it's just not my thing. Even when I started to find my new mentors after corporate, I was hearing basically like a completely different language than what I was used to. And I'm like, I don't even know what these things mean. Like this is a completely different English language. Entrepreneurial world is what I started calling it. But it's, there was just just another way that I don't connect. And I think that I know that there's just going to be people that I don't connect with because I haven't had the outside influences that they have. I stopped watching TV 13 years ago. It wasn't, whenever there's outside influence that does not resonate with my soul, I completely block it out, whether it's coming from an individual or if it's coming from like the TV or the radio or whatever. It's like, nope. Nope.
Sure.
I don't have any problem with shutting anything and everyone out that doesn't bother me whatsoever. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like, I have to have family members. And I'm like, I don't understand that concept. It's just not something that I really grew up with. And, we all have our own experiences and we all live different lives. And this is what works for me. And I can't say that I'm upset about that.
Well, I mean, just from the brief essence I've heard about your story, just kind of, briefly from you and just kind of looking through what you do put out there, it looks like you've overcome a lot of things in your life. And, in doing that, you figure out your way, not just to survive, but to actually move on and to thrive. And that's why, I don't know if you noticed, but when I made the post, I kind of geared it in that direction because I feel like if you've had a lot of hardships in your life, and then you're writing a book and you're showing up to be present in another community, something major shifted in you. What was that?
My spiritual awakening, it started in May of 2020. And I was in a deep fog for at least 2 years. Yeah. And, sometimes I still get foggy, like after the accident in September, it just put me right back into a depressive type state and very much into the fog. And I completely shut everything out, like not showering for days and doing like just dumb stuff like that. But I was really trying to figure out why was life doing this to me? When I'd been through so much and I'd come so far, and then here it is, it just, pulled the rug out from underneath me and, cornered me. So I had to ask, I'm like, okay, so, now what? Now what do I do? And because I found that those words helped bring me answers previously. Now what? Also enough. I've had enough. That's also another really good one that will shift your life. But I started asking what, and I just kind of had to wait for the answers as, my head was going through a million different things. And what I realized is that it just, it backed me into a corner because it had been telling me for the last 2.5 years that I needed to write. And I've been writing, and I didn't want to write about the things it wanted me to write about. So I had no choice but to give into it and face those fears and just write. And it actually turned out beautifully. But anyway, I'm very excited about that one.
Well, bravo. Congratulations for listening to yourself and to getting that out. Most people don't do that. Like 98% don't actually get it out and do it, and they stay stuck. So, I hope you acknowledge and take a second and go, wow, not only have I overcome, but I've listened to the voice. I'm moving forward in this new whole way. That's really incredible. Most people won't be able to do that. And so, you know, I'm really grateful to be here with you. I feel like my story's probably not the same, but similar. You know, we've probably got the same amount of body damage or so, you know, but, you know,
yeah, we do.
you speak about brain fog, you know, and depression, and, you know, I'm
taken apart and put back together
yeah,
several times.
right. For me, my new voice is how can I have joy in this, or how can I make joy out of this? And even the things I friggin' hate, I try to spin and make light of or have fun with. And, you know, one thing you said, and I don't want to tell you what to do, and I'm not a counselor, but you said, you know, when I'm in bed 4 or 5 days or whatever and I haven't showered, and that's dumb. I want to tell you that's not dumb, because I've been there, and that's a really hard place to be. And today, you know what? That's not where you are. So
No.
that's an awesome thing too. So there is no dumb when you're surviving this thing, and when you're getting yourself out of depression, and 4 or 5 days of whatever, to me, that's just survival. Some people can go to the gym and drink green things and then they're fine, and that's okay. Don't compare yourself to that. I stopped doing that, and I'm doing much better, you know, and some days I can do very little in compared to what I think I should or want to do, but that doesn't, I'm learning that doesn't make any difference of who I am as a human, you know. Some days just being awake right. is hard.
Well, yeah. The timing isn't right either, because life will tell you when it is that you need to do, you know, something like with the writing, you know, because once I just started writing a list. But the biggest thing that I learned from that, though, was really afterwards. You know, I've always said I'm not a reader, I'm a writer. And I don't read books. I started, you know, I read books when I was younger, but, you know, sometimes there's just a lot of fluff and I get bored, and I don't find it entertaining. And because my mind has to constantly be moving. Well, you know, we have to constantly something has to be going on up there. It needs a lot of input, with constant input. And after I got done editing, you know, for formatting and spelling and, you know, redundancies and things like that, then I actually had to go back through it like a millionth time and actually read it from a reader's point of view. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. But again, I had to face that fear and do it. And that's when I got like halfway through, and I was like, wow, you know, like things started clicking, and I messaged my friend. I'm like, I got a feeling I'm going to learn a lot of lessons from reading the rest of this. And they just started like flowing in, and it was, you know, so really leaning into those things that we don't like to do that we have to do, you know, or that life is telling us that we need to do. There's a lesson behind it. And so when you look at it as, okay, I feel the resistance and I don't really want to do this, but I know that there's something good on the other side of it. If you focus on the good, then it'll be easier to get through, and then you're going to go, that's what it was. So maybe that'll help.
Do you know what's next for you in that, the next push?
Besides getting it out to people?
No, just that, I don't mean the sale or the idea of making money. I mean, like the voice in you that says
it's a book, next, right?
Yeah. But you were compelled to do it. The voice in you said, do this thing, and you did it. Yeah. Now I'm saying, do you have another squeeze of like maybe another thing that was on the shelf for so long that's coming?
Well, probably a podcast. I've tossed that around for maybe a year and a half. Granted, the only thing I have is my phone and my ring light, but you know, that'll work. I have to learn the technology part because I haven't yet. And, because I really want to connect with more like-minded people selectively, you know, so that I can start to get out of my reclusiveness a little bit more. You know, I can't just be thrown into it unless it's a group like, you know, like this group where we all understand each other without having to say anything. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, we can see each other's face, or we can look at something or read what they're writing, and we know exactly what they're saying. And it's, there's not a lot that your head's not hurting when you look at what they write, So it's just easy. It's easy. I like things easy.
Well, Terri, what, I mean, definitely you have a nonlinear way about you, and you decide and kind of beat to your own drum how life will be for you. And that's awesome. What brought you out of that? Because that's seems closed off to this group of the Octopus Movement. It's a very open group with no rules. And I mean, the rule is don't be an ass to the next person, and
that's all I ask for.
And be really loving. Simple. Right. But what brought you there initially? How'd you even find it?
You're gonna laugh at this, and I love that you're asking, because I was kind of pushed to get on Instagram, and I didn't really want to do that either. But when I did, somebody called my fairy godmother got a hold of me, and she, asked what I was looking for, and it just kind of felt like a little angel had appeared out of nowhere. And I'm like, well, this is me, and blah, 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 blah. And she says, I talked to a guy, Perry. He has a club, and I'm going to send. I'm like, okay. And off I went, and here I am. So my fairy godmother sent me.
Wow. Literally just someone said to you, hey, I think this would be a good fit for you. And
yeah, she read me really well. Yeah.
Wow. And when you showed up, was it what she told you, or what was your expectation?
He just kind of accepted me, allowed me to be, and that was it. And, there's no, hey, you need to interact. Hey, you need to do this, and because I'm away from stuff for periods of time and whenever it is that I do go back, when something pops up that catches my attention, the algorithms, then I know that it's something that life wants me to take a look at. And so I do. And that's usually when I start interacting with different groups, when life suggests things to me.
Yeah. Very cool. With myself, I'm not a huge Facebook person. I don't really like the business behind it. And so I'm always kind of pushing back, but the community is really, that's the best way to interact, because that's where the most volume of people, and that's really where the chaos happens, the kind of fun daily things. But my most treasured interactions have been the think tanks and the small, once in a while, Perry has these, I can't even remember what they're called, but we just get together for an hour and everybody's just chatting and being together, with the intention of being together. And I really had been missing that, I mean, you've been through surgery recovery and being at home, and, when you want to engage with people and you need it and you don't know where to go,
it's nice having something there.
Yeah, it was such a happy accident in my life. I had no idea what I was getting into at all, and so, I'm glad you feel that way. So right from the get go. What have you been involved with? Have you done any of those think tanks yet, or
not
you were on the
12-hour
thing, right? Did you jump in that 12-hour Zoom Perry had?
I don't know. I've been in a couple different Zooms because, he's on the other side of the pond, and a little farther for you even.
Yeah.
And, so the time difference is a little tight, but luckily I'm an early bird and sometimes I can catch it. But I've really been, because of the spiritual.
That's it. He calls it the hangout session. Have you done
hangout.
That?
The hangout. I have not done the hangout session.
Okay.
And I will, but I've needed to really kind of get my head straight and figure out what was going on. And now I'm feeling better. I think getting the book out of me really helped a lot in that respect. And I know that there's going to be at least a couple more. And I understand what you're saying about social media. I'm on a couple of different platforms sparingly, and I'm mostly on Facebook simply because I am a writer, and the other ones want like 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. And I don't always want to do my hair in or anything. So I can write. But I will definitely. Because, and here's the thing, we're all belonging to hundreds of different groups, but we don't really interact with any of them, or at least I don't. And there are a couple groups that I've really been leaning into that of my mentors, and that's been my safe space in my support system. And because I trust them, I understand their energy. They're very supportive, and that's been what I've needed, so that I can go into other groups, more like the Octopus, not necessarily some of the other groups, and actually start to get to know people more, a little at a time. And right now it's not a huge group, so I feel comfortable. In big groups, I don't. But everybody in this group is somebody that I would interact with. There isn't anybody in this group that I wouldn't. And that's one thing that's really unique about the Octopus group that I don't find in too many other groups, other than the big, highly priced groups.
Right.
And that's a huge thing.
Definitely.
He's got a good group there. He's done a lot of work.
Yeah. Being behind the scenes and watching from when Perry has an idea to then watching it happen, he does do a lot of work.
He's crazy, man.
He's so great. And, it's he's had a lot go on this year too. He's still dealing with his foot hurting, and, he was in a cast, and just all kinds of things. And to see that this thing is still going. Yeah, exactly. Here, Perry, thanks for joining us. He's here. Just, I hope you're laying in bed, because it is late your time. It's it's real late your time. And so Perry's saying for the founding members, there's a monthly hangout session. And I get so involved, Terri. I don't always know where I was and where I met people. So please forgive me if I ask you something or assume you were somewhere. It's just because I'm just around because, as I'm feeling like I'm getting myself more social, like yourself, this feels like the easiest entrance exam, and these are safe people that aren't going to burn me out. They're not going to try to take advantage of my skill set
and there's not one person in there that will allow any other in there.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We're protective of our people.
Yeah.
Like-minded people as well.
And also it's open. It's not closed. It's still, so yeah, it's protective and yet inviting, and there's more room for everybody.
You just got to be really weird so you understand us. That's all.
What's funny is the more I get to know people in the deeper level like this, one-on-one or behind the scenes, I always feel like an oddball, or the black sheep, or the rebel, or we're a lot alike. Though. I'm always doing something odd compared to the people around me. Let's just put it that way. And in this group, I definitely have met a ton of people that feel that way and operate that way. But there's a ton of people that from the outside, they look and feel and sound really linear, but there's just like one or two little differences in them where they're like, for 80% of my life, I fit everywhere. And then I don't know about this other little 20%. And then when those people show up, it's really interesting because you're like, wow, they bring another linear / non-linear way to think about things, where they're like still in boxes and still in rows. And then they're also a little different. And I'm like, wow, so the more people I'm around that are just themselves and show up and be themselves, the more I learn about me and the more fun I have with others. And so that's
It is
been the
about having
joy.
fun, and that's why I like his pajamas.
Yeah. He's got a lot of nice outfits. I could run a slideshow. I should do
Right?
that.
Oh, you should. You should
I
make one.
should. I should. You know, we're getting close to 30 minutes, and I don't want to ignore the book that just came out, because I think there's probably some crossover. I'm gonna just share my screen so people can see what the title looks like, and it is available on Amazon. So tell us, what is your book? What got you writing it? And
So that's the soft cover. The ebook cover has the title on it, and it's called Intangible, Speaking for the Unspoken. And when I was younger, I learned what tangible and intangible were when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I immediately said to myself, I'm going to make the intangible tangible. And I kind of set off to do that. That was my own personal mission. I had no idea how I was going to do that. Of course, my environment helped me to, stay connected, and that, now, and I knew that it was going to be a long road. A couple years ago, I had this snapback vision of what this, what that all meant. But this is a recap of a lot of mystical type experiences throughout my life that I consider to be my forever memories. They're things that are like, they're always there. They never go away. I remember those things like they happened 5 minutes ago. And so for me, they're easy to write about, but when they happen, because for a long time I just didn't say anything. But then I just started blurting things out, and like predictions, and then people would, they'd see them come true, and just little things like that. And it's kind of fun. And then I realized that life likes to play games, and so I started leaning into that, because again, my inside world is much more fun than the outside world. And I like things to be nice, fun. So I started playing games and communicating with life. And I don't mean like talking, but now
Sure.
it talks, it says, we all hear your voices from time to time, or we have these knowings and whatnot. But then it also introduced me to a lot of different visions, and I had categories of all the different types of visions. And, my personal favorites were, I used to call them the live action TV visions, because I didn't know what they were called until I saw a woman on Lex Friedman podcast. This was about a year and a half ago. And she had named by location. And she was in she's a prior chair of a religious department at a large university. And working at a university prior myself, I reached out to her, and we had a little chit chat. And of course, she doesn't know who I am, but she did suggest that I just didn't pursue it. And so I've kind of had to figure it out for myself. And I've had a couple of them since then, which is really kind of fun, because I never know when they're going to happen. And
is it like a remote viewing experience kind of a thing?
Years ago, I think it was back in 2009 when I was still at the U, a woman had suggested maybe remote viewing, and all of the looking and Google and videos and stuff that I had found of remote viewing did not describe these. Remote viewing to me is what I call in the layers of gray, those types of visions. And actually, Daisies is one of those. And that one, I actually told the guy that I was going to be putting that in the book, and he responded and said, "No way." I was literally, and well, I won't tell the rest of it, but anyway, it's Daisies. And then, but the bilocation one, so the difference is that, some of the visions that I get are literally in different shades of gray, different lightnesses and darknesses, light on dark, dark on light. And there's no real difference between them. But the other ones, the live action TV or bilocation visions, those are literally just like looking into a flat panel TV screen, full color, and watching, like talking, like us talking to each other right now, but we're like you're a fly on the wall watching something. And I would literally just verify it immediately, and they're all true.
So what do you do with that information? I mean,
I
you've written a
verify it
book.
immediately.
I understand that, but you've
really
written a
cool.
book. Is your book about how you have done that, or is it more the stories that have come from these
are
visions?
The stories of the experiences
Cool.
of all the different kinds. And I'm a very nuts and bolts. Again, I don't like a lot of fluff. So it's a short book. It's an easy read. My eyes get tired sometimes when I read, so I did put a little bit bigger font than normal. But also, there's a lot of older people that like to read this stuff, and I wanted them to be able to not struggle with reading it and be able to enjoy it. It's each story is a conversation piece in itself, and then they all tie together really nicely from beginning to end. The way that it just turned out, I'm just, when you let life lead the way, it does some amazing things. So I can't take all the credit.
That's super cool.
It is cool.
Congrats on really just bringing it around, and just capturing the stories in our own lives can be difficult, and then putting it in a format, I mean, you've thought all the way through, like, who's going to actually need to experience this, and even to the font, and that's a lot of work. I have witnessed other people writing, and I'm in the process of co-writing with a couple other people, and it's a lot. I can tell you it's not easy for me. It doesn't just roll. So when you're in the mode of writing, do you have to take time away and like just go into a cabin, or can you just do it, set your alarm and do it for 2 hours in the morning? What's your process? How do you get that?
Well, morning
out?
Is definitely the most creative time. But it just depends on what it is that I'm writing. So for instance, with this book, I knew a lot of the different experiences. So I wrote down my keywords that I referenced them as in a list. And I categorized them again by like what kind of experience it was. And then I didn't really know where to start. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to, and I waited like a day or two, and I said, I'm just going to start writing and see what happens. Because, you just got to start with one of it, and then it'll start going. The flow just boom. And I let life lead the way. And every day I'd write, one or two. Kira had suggested that I just do it for 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I can do 30 minutes. Because there was a lot of anxiety in me. Trust me, there was a lot of anxiety, PTSD. I was stir crazy. I was not comfortable sitting down writing some of this stuff. And I'm like, I can do 30 minutes. And that really kind of helped focus me. And then the next day I get up and I'm like, okay, what am I going to write about now? And life talks to us in different ways. It's not just a knowing or a thought or something that we hear in our heads. Sometimes it's just, you flip open Facebook and a post comes up and it's about something. You're like, that's what I'm supposed to write about. And then you just start writing about it. And that's what I did. And
wow.
And, I kicked it out pretty quick. I'm happy with getting it out because I didn't like that feeling.
I bet.
Not a fun feeling.
Yeah, it probably felt like a sliver, like, oh man, I got it out.
Anyway, I won't go into it.
Wow.
But
well, that's so fun that you have experienced. I mean, you're already on the other side of it, looking back.
Yeah.
How does that feel? That's wild.
about that.
Nice.
A big relief. I really just kind of need to decompress for a couple of days, which was nice because it was going to, I think the ebook is going to be available tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you took some of that, extra energy and you're sharing it with us today, because I mean, you probably, especially if you're a recluse, you probably need some quiet time and
I need a lot of recovery time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give and give and give, but then I gotta relax after that.
One thing that is important in my recovery truly is just being known also. I'm really noticing that, like just being around someone else. Like I'm very different than you probably in 1,000 ways, but there's 100 ways that are oddly surreal that we've experienced, and it's like, wow, okay, like it's nice to be around someone that has been through hardships and is moving forward, and it's reminding me to do my work. Sit down and do the book, D. Like sit down and work on the music. Like take the time, and do that. And so when you complete something like this and then you show up like you are today, you're not just doing yourself a book sale. You're actually helping the next person, especially within the movement. There's a lot of people that don't know what to do with their art, and they don't know how to sell themselves, and they feel like a recluse or a hermit, and they're stuck. And so I hope that they understand that what you did was you listened to the voice and you just kept showing up, and your process was yours and mine's mine, but you just did it, and here you are. And how wonderful it is, that you can do it after all of the hardships you've been through. Not only that, this to me is the thriving, right? This is when you take the ashes and you've molded something new out of it, How do you feel?
I feel great because there's a lot of things that I've learned, when I started listening to, like the podcast from Lewis and Evan and whatnot, and realizing, from other people's point of view who I respected, of the things that I was doing right versus what the outside world was telling me. And then finding all these other tips that they were adding in. There's a lot of things that I ended up putting in that book, which kind of pull a lot of those things together. And the biggest thing is it really does go back to, everything does go back to our childhood. And in there is a bunch of different things that I wrote from when I was younger, and you can see how those things tied in later. And so in that respect, I think it will help you with your music or, whatever, because it may start you with thinking about some of the different things that you're like, oh, I remember that, or I in that, and write those things down, because they, and I don't care if you just look at those words and, like how it is that you remember that story. Because the more that you focus on it, the more energy that you give it, the more that life will communicate back with you and let you know what it is. And then just start picking up, and whether it's your pen or your guitar or whatever it is that you're doing, and just
Definitely.
let it go.
I think the big lesson of the week, if you watched all these episodes and strung them together, is really, listening to that voice and following through. Like actually following through is such a gift to yourself of living. Like a lot of us think we're living, and you're not until you give yourself the gift of listening to that voice. I'm very, very new to that program. I'm telling you.
You have to look at it as a game. I'm telling you,
I know,
it's fun.
I do now.
It really,
yeah.
If you can understand that life enjoys us playing a game. So for instance, if you think about something and then an email or something comes to you, you're like, I was just thinking about that. Don't worry about the algorithms. The AI is off from our eye, right?
Sure.
our eye, reality and real intelligence. But it does like to play games with us. And if you go, okay, well, and then you start building up these little things, which builds up your confidence, like, okay, I can play this game. Let's do some more. And then then that builds up gratitude when it does, bring you stuff like manifesting my dog, that was cool, but it builds up gratitude, and gratitude is the biggest thing that it goes, okay, now they're ready to play. Boom, boom, and then things get bigger, and you just get more excited, and joyfulness is nothing. So, wake up happy and shoot for the sky.
I'm definitely working on it, Terri. I appreciate that reminder of that wisdom. Like it's a game, and to make joy out of everything is it's available
the joy
for
will come.
us.
You don't have to try though. You just play the game. Literally, just play the game with life, and you will see that it will. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Terri, for being here today and sharing your work and I mean, I didn't really realize it until we were right before we started. It's like, wow, you actually did the thing. You did it and then you're done. And there's so many of those things that I want done and I'm in the process of. And so I am just, if this is a virtual high five to you, you know, that's just, it's so cool. So I hope you just sit in that and celebrate the fact that, you know, you did it. You listened and you're there. And there is nothing else. Like, it's not like the sales will make it any better or anything else. It's just, you know, because by then you'll already have a new message and you'll be working on something else probably.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I want other people to learn to listen to life. And, you know, that's a big message. So like doing podcasts like this is the most beneficial for me. The book is a great book of stories and experiences to kind of give real life experiences and how it is that they can be handled appropriately and viewed differently. But again, not a lot of people live a reclusive life, and, you know, so it is a different perspective.
Totally.
But yeah, 30 minutes, just focus on 30 minutes. I think that was a really big thing for me, is really just focus on 30 minutes.
I love it. Well, let's just sit in that. Everyone out there who's listening, 30 minutes. And you can check out Terri's book. It's available on Amazon in soft cover and download. Is that right? Or also hardback?
As of tomorrow on the 15th. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. We caught you just in time, didn't we?
Just in time. I know. It's awesome. Life works in mysterious ways.
Well, hey, Terri, thank you for being a guest today. I look forward to our future discussions, and I hope you join in the next Founders Hangout session. Terri,
Yep,
I'm sorry, I forgot what the name was for that.
It's called Hangout.
Yeah, the Founders Hangout session, I think is what it's called. And so wonderful to have you, Terri. You take care of yourself, and best wishes on the sale of your book, which is just the icing on the cake. So blessings, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. You. All right. Everyone, I'm really appreciative of everyone that stops by, all the people that watch or comment. You know, you all matter. We're really glad to be doing this series, just getting to know all of you people within this movement. It's a lot of people to know, and we couldn't possibly do this all the time. And so for me, just the one-on-one has been inspiring, and I'm learning. And so if any of you want to share your story, please reach out, direct message to me this week, and we'll just keep this stuff going. You know, it's been so great and connecting for everyone here within the movement. So again, if you're here, thank you, and have a great evening and the rest of your day. Blessings.